We are here again with another edition of Casey Music Talk. Today, I have a guitar player, band leader, and the jam master himself, Dave Hayes. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay.
Sweet.
Doing okay.
Um, so I met you at your jam, I think. Or
Yes.
no, it wouldn't have been your jam. It would have been Samantha's jam.
Probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
over
Yeah.
at the Hannibal's. That
Yeah,
would
that
have
was a
been
long time ago.
long
Yeah.
time ago. And so you are a musician here in town, and I think a lot of people have been calling you kind of the jam master a little bit because you're pretty good at running open jams. I think yours has been
We've been
pretty well attended.
close to having it down to a science, but
Yeah.
not yet.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, but that I definitely want to talk about open jams here in a bit. But that's one that I'm always really happy to come to your jams with Danny Montero and Paul Greenlease, and I think you guys run a really good jam. So
We try.
yes, and that's Tuesday right now. Tuesdays at Llewellyn's, and then Friday at
Sunday. Yeah.
or Sunday at Firehouse. Yeah. So. Did you? I think you told me one time. Did you start like kind of in your 20s? Did you say that, or am I thinking about something else?
Picked up guitar when I was a teenager, and I'd never played out in a band until I was about 35. Actually.
Wow. Yeah.
You know,
So that was pretty
I did
late
like
compared
the
to.
whole mechanic thing, and
Mm-hmm.
finally somebody like, get out of the house. You need to get in a band.
Mm-hmm.
You're driving us nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. So you that's. I think that's in general a little bit later than a lot of other people do, because usually people are doing the garage band thing when they're young, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are.
Yeah.
And I did that too, but not like I didn't actually play in a band that actually got out. I played in a lot of, hey, let's form a band. Okay, let's get together, and yeah, never got, you know, off the shelf.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You know.
They never ended up getting a gig, huh?
Yeah.
It was
yeah,
just in a basement.
yeah,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
I think we all have had those before, and so like, and then the other thing is that is really cool is you got to you won the Kansas contest, the blues contest, right? That'd have been like 5 years ago or something, or
For
explain
Kansas City,
explain
yes.
how that works.
The IBC, the
Mhm.
International Blues Competition, is basically kind of like a battle of the bands. Um, there's a local level, which is Kansas City level, and then there's a national level, which we took like second place down in Memphis, Tennessee.
That's cool.
Uh,
Yeah.
Actually, wasn't my band. This is a band that I played with at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's cool though, man. I mean, because, and correct me about the numbers or whatever, but I know that Samantha's gone down there, right?
No, Samantha, I don't think
She didn't.
Samantha
She didn't.
ever
I
went
thought
down
she
there.
went down there one year.
Was she?
I thought it was like right after yours or before yours, because I thought it was like 3 years in a row. Because Trampled Underfoot went down there too, right?
Trampled Underfoot went down there and took first place in 2008.
Yeah. Okay. So like, cause I thought I had heard that Samantha went down there too, because that's why I was like, well, yeah, that's right. Like Kansas City, like owning this contest like 6 years in a row. Like that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What was that like down there to kind of like represent Kansas City blues? Was it? Did you feel any way about that? Or?
Oh, it was a really good experience. Met a lot of really good players. It was a fun time. It was good to hang out in Memphis. The bands and everything, the musicianship was just amazing. I mean, it really was. There was 500 bands there.
500.
Yeah, the year we competed, and they were
Oh,
they all had one in their region, or you know, they all had one where they represented, you know, and come down, and then I mean, there was bands from Japan. There were blues bands
Oh,
from
wow.
Japan, from all over the place.
That's cool.
You know, so it truly was like from everywhere, and they were all good, every single one of them. I mean,
Yeah, wow.
they were all fantastic. And the competition itself was, well, it was kind of like on pins and needles because we played, the first thing we did was draws to see who goes first, and then you got to sit around and wait, and then you perform, and then you sit around and wait,
Sure.
you know, and you watch all these great players, you know, and so it really was like being on pins and needles from about 2 o'clock every day until, you know,
Oh, yeah.
we were done every night, and we did that 5 days straight. We went all the way to the finals,
Oh, wow.
and that was grueling. I mean, you know, just sit around and wait and be nervous and.
Oh, yeah, sure. How many
You know.
how many songs did you guys play then? Like, what was the sets like?
Well, they give you a lot of time, so we filled up like a 20-minute spot and a 30-minute spot, I think.
Yeah,
Or,
okay.
you know, roughly.
Yeah, sure.
As I remember it.
Yeah. What has been, speaking of like Kansas City blues, is like what have you gotten a kind of sense about like blues wise how Kansas City is like, and this is kind of a silly question, but compared to like some other cities that you've been in, have you gotten kind of a sense of like the
Well, you know, Memphis has its own sound. New Orleans has its own sound. Kansas City does have its own sound. I mean, it goes all the way back to Big Joe Turner, you know, and probably even before that, you know. But you know, I can't elaborate on that too much. My history's a little rough.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a historian somewhere that can, you know.
I'm basically trying to get you to talk crap about other towns. That's basically what I'm trying to do. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I know. I'm giving you heck. But yeah, but that's cool, man. I'm really glad that I know a lot of times when other people go to other cities, they always get some kind of information. You know, even if it's like that, an amazement like what you had of how many great bands are out there or something. You know, it's always a learning experience going.
Well, when I have people come in from out of town, they're like, you know, wow, we don't have anything like this where we are.
Yeah.
You know, so live music is we're kind of a hot spot for live music in a way that is appreciated in other places that don't have it as much as we do here, but then we're not really appreciated that much in our hometown.
Yeah.
You know, but we are appreciated, you know, but I mean.
Oh yeah, I know what you
not
mean.
to the level.
Yeah. That it probably should be maybe, but I mean obviously, I mean everybody talks about us kind of being a jazz town, but I think we're more of a blues town. I mean in genre wise. And I think we've probably always been that way. I mean, obviously, 20s and 40s were.
Yeah, well, it's not a competition. I mean.
No, yeah, but.
You know, a lot of it runs hand in hand. I mean, you know, it really does. I know a lot of players that play in both genres. You know.
Yeah. So the big thing that I wanted to talk to you a little about, we've talked about this on the show a ton, is the open jam scene here, and I'm really a huge fan of the open jams. I personally think it's a pretty big part of our scene here. There's 15 of them around town in all sorts of genres and stuff. Can you talk about the jams in town and what's good about them, or what's your thoughts on that?
Like, what do you want to know about them?
Like, why do you think they're a good idea for us to have jams in town?
Well, I'm kind of biased about that too, because like I just said, you know, earlier, that I didn't start playing out in, you know, in bands until I was like 35, and I attended the jam. That's like one of the first things I did. I wanted to get out and play and see what it was like to play with a band, and at that point, you know, that was like the next logical step. Okay, what's it like to step on a stage and play your guitar and sing, and, you know, so on and so forth. in front of people? Can you actually do that, and not run in terror and hide behind the amp with your guitar? I mean, you know, um, so and so in a way, the jams are a good way for you to hone your skill, a good way to keep your chops up, and it's a great teacher if you want to get out and learn how to perform a few songs. And it's a great way to network. You meet a lot of musicians. I met you that way. I met pretty much everybody I played with that way. So you can network. They're great for networking. They're great for learning how to perform. They're great for ideas. I get more ideas from watching these young kids show up with the enthusiasm. I get ideas from these old guys that have done it all and been there and done that. So it's good for that. It's good for that.
Yeah, that's cool, and that is a good first step, like you were talking about, like how big a deal is that when you're at home and then you finally like get the balls to get up on stage with somebody. I mean, was that a pretty big deal for you, or was
it was for me. Yeah. I'm pretty shy and took a lot for me. And the first time I was horrible. I was so nervous, and I got on this amp that they had, and it was a twin, and the reverb was broke, and it didn't really sound that good, and I played, but and I was just horrible, but some reason I stuck at it. So
for some reason, huh?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in psychology. So how'd you feel about that? Like afterwards, was there I don't know if you really remember, but do you remember going like, man, I can kind of do this, but I'm sucking at it right now. I just need to do it more. Or were you really afraid to go back, or like, how'd you feel?
Well, I think probably my attitude early on was, you know what? It's the music that I love. And I'm in it for the music. I'm in it to play music, because I can't do it because I'm terrified. So if I play in front of one person or I play in front of a bunch of people, really it's the music that drew it to me, drew me to it.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed. I feel like I'm blessed enough to have a little bit of talent in that area, and so why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
There's other people that are doing it, so why can't it be me?
That's cool. That's a cool attitude to have.
And so, a lot of people do it for a second and then they quit, or they don't stick at it. So why I stuck at it was really because I just love the music, And at that point, I really didn't care if I was terrible or what I was good. I wanted to be a part of the music.
That's cool, man. We do get, and I'm almost the worst at this, is getting kind of wrapped up in kind of the hierarchy of these are the good players, right? These are then there's these guys, then there's and I'm really bad at that. I get really, and I think a lot of us get wrapped up into that.
We all do. We all do.
And that's really great that even then maybe it sounds like you weren't necessarily thinking a ton in that way. That seems like that's really wise.
Well, I got in with some really good players, like right off the bat. I was the weakest player in the room to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it just made me work harder. And some people are like that, and some people will just quit. And that's the deal.
Yeah, right. Well, and so like the idea of I always think of it as kind of there's two parts to it. There's two, obviously, in regards to like groups of people. There's obviously the house band, and then there's the jammers, right? And then obviously the audience might be a third group. But of the players, I've always had a theory of that to make a really good open jam, they both have to be kind of working together. Like the house band's kind of got to get the crap, kind of have that crap together in every way, and then the jammers need to do their part, you know, and both parts are different, you know, responsibility wise.
It is true. Well, it's easier to fill a room if the music is good than it is to fill a room if it's just horrible.
Sure.
You know, and so what I always try to do is put up the strong players with the weakest players and mix it up anyway, you know, and
why do you do that?
Because I want the music to be good. Actually, you know,
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy when the music's good. The crowd's happy when the music's good, and you know, you're not going to learn anything if you know, if you're a musician, you're not going to learn anything if you don't like try to raise the bar on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes a little nudging, you
Sure,
know, in that
yeah.
direction.
Like not Phil, it's a stupid guy's name. Steve Andrew on his little thing was talking about the idea of making sure he gets the weaker up with the really strong players to give them a chance, sort of, you know, where they so we made the example of like you get like Paul and Danny, you know, holding down a rhythm section, then you get this young guitar player up there, and maybe you're up there with him too, and then all of a sudden he sounds good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand, a lot of young players come up, they don't really understand what it's like to, have to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Talking about like running the song or like.
What it's like to run a band or run a song, or you know, step in front of the mic and actually tell the band what to do, or to tell tell the guitar player, even though you know he's better than you, you know, hey, you know, you take a solo, you know, you do this, drummer solo or whatever, you know, or you know, we're going through the verse, I'm gonna sing, bring it down, bring it up, you know.
So you're talking about cueing.
Queuing,
right?
yeah,
I mean,
queuing, to a certain extent. Yeah, a lot of players don't realize what it's like to have to communicate.
Yeah.
Communication is a huge deal when you're playing with a group of people, because if you don't ever communicate, and this guy's doing his thing, and this other guy's doing his thing, and then okay, you're gonna play together, you're gonna play, you know, everybody's gonna do their own thing, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of a weird. That's one of the probably the hardest things about getting up with a bunch of people, especially that you don't know, right? Is the knowing all of the. First of all the little things that happen before the song even starts, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes, "What song are we gonna?" Right? We're all standing on stage, like, "Okay, can't you
key
see?"
of A,
Yeah, key of A, and like that would be the first thing, and then who's starting the song off?
Yeah, who's
You know
starting
what
the
I mean?
song
Like,
off?
I think a lot of young guys are, you know, they're just so excited or nervous to be up there that they've never had to do any of that cueing and that's why I kind of called it
knowing
running the
when
song.
to like jump in and start the song for them, if that's what it calls for, and knowing when to like back off and let them do their thing is another thing too, because it's like a lot of, you know, players are quite prepared to do that, and then some others aren't.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, one thing that I've kind of found that was funny, and I hadn't even thought of this till just the second, but a lot of times when I see like singers get up there where they're it might be a lady who's more of a karaoke type singer, but she's good, you know, she's got good pitch and stuff. They're always really clueless on what to do with the soloers. Have you noticed that a lot? Like the crazies, right? They'll get up and do those typical tunes, and they won't really know what to do about.
That's a whole nother topic, because I played in several bands, and you have a lot of really good singers who don't know a thing about music, because you can carry a tune and sing, but not know how to play an instrument, or not even know what key you sing a song in. Okay, and so, all right, hum a few bars. Okay, I think you're singing in C.
Right.
Okay, turn around to the band. Okay, this is in C.
Yeah, that's always fun. Like, so I guess like one of my things that I'll just get into it now because you just mentioned that, but like I am always frustrated by cluelessness and like musician cluelessness. And so a couple of examples of that would be like a singer going up there, what key do you sing? Oh, I don't know, right? And the jammer getting up there knowing, not having any clue how to start the song, not having any clue how to end the song, not knowing what's going on with solos, somebody coming up there not understanding that their amp's at 8 right now, and everybody else is on 3,
and why am I drowning out the vocals?
Or not even noticing they're drowning out the vocal, and like, and this has happened a lot in our jam scene too, is somebody will like call a classic rock song that doesn't have any business being called on the stage right now, and they just don't understand that these players can't handle this 8-chord tune you're about ready to do.
Yeah.
And like, so like, what do you, and this is probably the biggest question I wanted to ask you tonight, is that I need people to set me straight on this concept, because I'm really hardcore about this and I'm probably pretty mean. And I heard a guy say one time that a jam is for, he said a jam is for professionals and serious students. That was his position he was trying to argue for. So basically what that means is that these guys should be at the jam and these guys need to watch a couple times.
I don't know how you could be a professional musician before you ever get on stage and because I feel like it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
Being a whole musician thing to me is a process. I learned to play guitar. That's what I did. Before that, I took piano lessons. I never did a dang thing with it, but I learned how to play guitar. Okay, so now what the next thing is I need to be able to play guitar in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, when I play a guitar in front of people, now I need to know more songs, or I need to know my theory enough that I can stay with a band that knows a lot of songs.
Right.
Okay, and then I need to like be able learn how to follow a band and play with a bass player, a drummer,
right.
and you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or later on I might need to learn how to lead a band.
Mm-hmm. Now you have an example right in your
And
band.
so it's become a process of learning your instrument, then learning how to perform. So you got a separate process there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have learning your instrument, then learning how to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And the same way with singing, you learn how to sing, learn how to sing in front of people.
Yeah. Two
it's
different
always-
things. Yeah.
Because it is two different things.
Yeah.
Learning how to play guitar, learning how to play guitar with a bass player and a drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and so I guess one way that his comment would try to get out of that is the serious student part. Is that he's he's a jazz guy. I won't out him, but he's a guy here in town, and I thought about his comment, and I thought that was really interesting because I think he, just like everybody else, knows exactly your story that you just talked about. We had our first jam, and it went. Mine didn't go so great either, and you have to learn. You have a couple, and you start sucking a little less, and then a little less, and all of a sudden we're good at it. And we all have to have that time, right?
Yeah.
Where we go in and
I think it depends what your definition of professional is. I mean,
right.
When I hit the jams for the first time and I wasn't that good, I didn't know a whole lot. I got in really good players, and I went and did my first gig. My first gig, we finished the night. They put money in my hand, said, "Congratulations, you're a professional. You just got paid to play."
Right.
And I was like, "Really?
Right.
Wow." I just got to play the bass.
Yeah.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you look at professional under that light,
Right.
okay, well then I'm a professional. I've been professional for years.
Right.
And if you get paid to play, you're a professional.
Right.
You know, now if professional is somebody who spends their entire life studying for music, well, I've done that too, but I haven't had any help. You know,
Right.
but or I've helped myself, but there are people who spend their entire lives, and I have utmost respect for them. You know,
Yeah.
learning how to play music, learning.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I might
And-
fall into
and
that category.
that's a
and I've been-
professional.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
uh,
Phil was talking about one of his definitions of professional would be a person who makes their living at this, you know, and he was distinguishing between the guy who gets money to do a gig, that's technically
that's when they get
professional,
paid
you
to
know,
play.
but and that's very different. But he said he would argue that those guys are still hobbyists, where they're not making their entire living off of music.
Yeah.
Then you go down to the studio guys in Nashville. That's a whole different ball game. You know, those guys
Yeah.
are making their living off of music,
Yeah.
and he would just put those two in two different categories. But I guess what I was trying to get at is I'm still trying to wrap my head around where I need to be emotionally with this question, because it impacts how pissed I get at people, you know, that are at the jams. You know, so for example, I mentioned those times when I feel like the other person's being ridiculously clueless. You know, when other people are up there and they sort of know what's going on, and then you like there's one silly level of cluelessness where I don't know this song. That's totally different. That everybody has that. We play a song we
You
don't
can't know every
You
single
can't know every
song
song,
that
right? Yeah. So
everybody does.
that's
And
over here.
Even
you know?
if you had know a ton of songs,
Mhm.
and I do,
Right.
and I play with players that know songs that I don't know, but I can follow them. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
But you can't know every song, and even if you did know every song, 10 months somebody will come out with a new song and you won't know it.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay,
You just can't know them all, yeah.
but you can have a good idea of the theory
hmm
and be able to follow.
Yeah. I guess, so with myself, like, if I had the choice, if I came to your jam and if I had the choice, I would choose to get up with you three guys and that's it. You know, because my purpose for the jam is different from other people. I think a lot of other people are going, then that's why the jam's so great, is because it doesn't have to be for one particular purpose. But I think some guys are going to have straight fun, you know, and it's all about the music. I'm trying to be really honest with myself and honest with everybody else. I'm coming to hustle. That's what I'm doing. I want everybody in this room and everybody in this town to know who I am. I want gigs. I'm in this deep, you know.
We all do that.
We all do that. So that's where my purpose is for a jam myself. And so when I get up there, I want it to be like an awesome music. I want the song to sound awesome, because if the song sounds awesome, that means I sound awesome. And if I sound awesome, that means I'm making everybody else sound awesome. You know, it's all reciprocal. So you know, and it is what it is. You know, this is a jam. This is not a band right now. I'm going to have to deal with the people that are the newbies, and I want to help them too, you know. And who am I to sit here and tell this 50-year-old guy who's maybe even retired now, that this is like his one true love, coming to the jam? I'm gonna tell him to not come anymore? That's BS, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a BS thing for me to say, that I'm gonna take his love away. You know, that like.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to feel about, you know. I just like I don't even know what I'm asking, but it's just that's just a frustrating thing that I'm trying to wrap my head around, and not get so angry with other people and stuff. And like, how do you? I mean, what do you think about any of that?
I try to remember. Like I said, I told you first time I went out, sat on a jam, I was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to remember what that felt like, and I try to put myself back in that position, and try to keep my ego under wraps, if you will. Then you get these moments of surprise. I had two moments of surprise last night. I had two guitar players I never seen in my life, and usually if you get a new musician, they're a novice, you know, at the jams. I had two guitar players came out, and they were both excellent.
Yeah.
I'd never seen them before, and I thought I knew everybody.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Both from Kansas City. One
about
played
do
drums
know
and
everybody.
guitar, and didn't bring a guitar. I gave both of them. Well, I gave both of them my guitar to play. Here, play my guitar. You know, you want to sit in, sit in. You know, play my guitar.
Yeah.
And they were both excellent.
That's
So,
cool, man.
You get these moments of surprise where you thought you knew everybody, and this guy shows up, and you don't expect much, and wow, he knocks your socks off.
Right.
You know, and then you get these other, you know, I've had music majors come out, and I'm expecting a lot, you know, and oh man. Okay.
Wait.
Next song.
Wait, we're playing blues tonight?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. Degrees don't mean a whole lot. That's called the argument from authority. You know, you talk about, you know, just because I have a degree means that I'm something. You know, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. So I guess another thing that I'm usually pretty blown away by you in regards to like what the house band needs is that I've noticed that when we ran our little jam, me and my buddy Scott ran a little kind of an open mic thing. One thing that was funny is he only had really a couple of blues songs in his, because he was a country guy, but what would happen is he had these songs that would be like a couple gospels and a couple blues, and they would have been perfect songs for us to throw for the jammers.
Yeah.
Like we should have, if it were up to me, we should have done all our hard stuff during our little house band set, and then kept all of our easy songs. So off the top of our head, we have these 10 or, you know, in your case 70, you know, little songs off the top of our head ready to go for the jam, because so we're not sitting here going like, well, let's do Country Roads. No, that's like a 10-chord song. Let's not throw that at a jammer right now, you know. One thing I really like about you is you have a lot of songs rolling around in your head. Those 6 funks that are off the top of your head right now. So when you need a funk, you go, okay, Big Boss Man, all right, boom. And then we're 1 second, you're ready to go with lyrics. And like, what do you think about that as a house band, having that ability to just have a catalog of songs?
Well, that's a shoe-in for me. I mean, that's easy for me because I run a blues jam. I'm a huge blues fan, so naturally, I do a lot of blues songs. You know, I've performed a lot of blues songs over the years, and so that part's pretty easy for me. I like the blues and running the blues jam. I just love the blues. You know, I love. To me, you know, blues is music that's got soul, you know, has a feeling or has emotion, you know. So I do know a lot of songs. A lot of blues songs, and I had to learn a lot right off the bat too. So.
Yeah, I think what sets people apart, I think, in town is knowing the words to songs, because we have so many guys that you can just get up there and they go shuffle an A and everybody goes okay, dong, okay, I'm ready, you know, and slow blues in D, okay, you know, and but we're always waiting, who's singing? You know, everybody's waiting for the dude who's singing, you know, because we can all do. That's why I've told on the show before that, like, I think this town is basically built up with a whole bunch of what I call the studio guys, and not like Nashville quality studio guys, but guys that like in the blues world can basically handle everything you're throwing at them. I mean, we have 70 to 100 blues guys that come to these jams that you can throw any blues tune at them and they pretty much can handle it in general.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by a studio guy. And this happens.
That is another level to. I would put that with the jams also. Because as a guy that runs jams, I get like throw curveballs on a regular basis.
Sure.
And so I've had to develop, you know, and there are guys that do it better than I do.
Mm.
But I've had to like be able to handle a curveball. If you throw a musical curveball to me, I've got a pretty good idea.
Right, yeah.
Already.
Sure.
And
there's some guys that don't,
because I have a lot of experience playing
sure.
music.
Yeah. Did you play in a lot of rock bands too, or is it mostly
I played in a
blues?
couple classic rock bands.
Yeah.
I played in 3 or 4 country bands.
Mm.
I did the 7-piece horn thing. And a lot of harmonica blues.
I've said this on the show before. Me personally, I'm kind of over harmonica. Personally, I'm a little over it. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But it seems like at the jams, they throw a lot of country, a lot of rock, and a lot of blues, right? I mean, all 3 of that area of songs. And the ones that get me are the rock ones usually. Random classic rock that I've heard. I've heard all these songs, but I've just never played it before.
Yeah.
And those ones are the ones that give me heck a little bit when it's random Tom Petty song or some random song that you guys all know because you guys,
Yeah,
I didn't grow up listening to a lot.
There's a lot of stuff. If I can hear it in my head, I can play it.
Yeah.
But if if you catch me on a good day, I can hear it. Catch me on a bad day, maybe I'll hear it. Maybe I'll remember how that song goes.
Right.
Maybe I won't.
Yeah, that got pushed out for 16 other songs, right? You used to have it in your head, but now you've learned another 47.
This has that horn part and that key change. Yeah, I forgot about.
Yeah.
Even though I used to do this song 10 years ago,
that key change that I'm late for, that I'm 4 measures late for. That's usually what happens to me. But yeah, man. But I'm just really excited to talk to people about jams a lot. I know I'm going to try to get off it here in the next couple of interviews because we've talked about it like every single person because I'm really curious what they think. But I just really love the idea of them and I wouldn't be, not that I have that big a name, but I wouldn't be anywhere in town. I wouldn't be able to do the show. I wouldn't without these jams because I meet so many people and I know for me, and I've said this before too, is that for me I'd never done like a full blues show before where it's like as a musician, you're getting thrown D shuffle, A funk, G shuffle, C slow, D funk, and boom, 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 song after song and have to like, oh, okay, back in D, and that was a little bit of a learning curve, I guess, but it was really the songs. Big Boss Man, I've never heard of that song before, all these blues and jazz tunes that, it's probably, that's one of the things that I think is great about the jams is so many songs that I'd never heard before.
There's just so much good music out there, and when I was a kid growing up listening to rock and roll, I was only exposed to what was being played on the radio when I hooked up with some really good musicians. And I found out, almost every one of these musicians has their little thing it's a little obscure, that they've been listening to this one artist, that is like, and then when you hook up with a bunch of guys who play, you get to find out what that is. And you're like, oh, you know what, I like that too, that's cool. You get to hear about all these little obscure, that's not mainstream, you're not going to hear it on the radio or,
Those guys selling about 100,000 records. Everybody that you're hearing on the radio is selling millions, but all those like mid-level guys that are great.
And there's so much fantastic music out there. There's fantastic music that happens in Kansas City every night of the week.
Yeah.
And some of it's mainstream and some of it's not mainstream. But I always think it's a shame when people don't get out and when they don't explore music stuff. And these days everything's like categorized. Okay, you got your country, your rock and roll, this is classic rock, this is blah 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 blah. But to me there's only really good music and bad music, and there's a lot of really good music.
what do you call Allman Brothers? It's kind of your point, right? I mean, what do you call those
Well,
guys?
you got elements of country, you got elements of jazz, you got elements of
Jam
Southern
band
rock,
kind of
I
music.
guess.
Yeah.
you know, yeah, jams, just so much music, and back then everything wasn't categorized as much as it is now. It was, but it's not as much as it is now, and so you get this one guy who like, well, I don't like classic rock, I'm into country, so he only listens to this one thing, and he's missing this over here, but he might really like it,
I know for me, I try really hard, and everybody knows that I do this, is that I really like a lot of different stuff. I mean, I know Jim is another one that we know, Jim Kent. I see him at the jazz jams too. I don't see there's guys that do the crossover a little bit. Tom DeMasters is another one in town that kind of goes to some blues jams once in a while, but he plays jazz a lot too, and that's really cool.
He's wonderful.
He's
wonderful.
a very nice guy. Okay, let's kind of move on from that. What do you think in regards to running a band? How are you liking this 2 weeknights gigs every week? Is that kind of a pretty sweet deal for you a little bit? Or?
It's nice to have a regular gig because you're going to get paid.
Sure.
And being at the same place every week, we've kind of got a following in these places. We get the same crowd, or we get same group of people that comes out and sees us. And so it has its pluses and its minuses. But I like having a regular gig.
Sure. I just thought it was so cool that, because I was thinking, I'm like, wait a second, he has a Sunday gig and a Tuesday gig, and he hasn't even played Friday and Saturday yet. And you already have 2 weekly gigs. That was
Well, I
just
am
really...
playing Friday and Saturday,
Right,
but it's
right.
not, yeah.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Your Friday and Saturdays are open every week to play gigs, to play non-jam gigs, and I just thought that was so cool that, because myself, I'm looking for gigs constantly, so I thought that was so cool when I ran our jam and we did it on a Wednesday, and I'm like, wow, I got a gig every Wednesday, and now we have all this time to...
Yeah, any weekday gig is it's worth its weight in gold.
Oh, yeah.
There's bike nights, there's the jams. I used to do a lot more bike nights and stuff like that. The house band gig. House band gigs are good, and helps you keep your chops up, and you get a following,
What was a thing in a previous band that you've been in that was really great? That personalities or song choices, or you can answer it however you want, but what was something that worked really good? Or in the band you have now that's working really well?
Oh boy, I gotta think about that.
Yeah.
That was really great. Just the music,
Maybe I could bait you a little bit with this. You can play pretty much almost any song you want with Danny and Paul, right?
Yeah.
That's got to be a plus.
Yeah.
Just personnel-wise.
Personnel-wise, yeah. I'm really happy playing with Paul and Danny. They have wide, what's the word? They play wide variety of music, and they're excellent musicians, and I respect the hell out of them, and they can follow me anywhere I want to go, which gives me a lot of freedom,
Yeah.
and I just love that,
Mm-hmm.
because I can get really creative with them guys. I can get really creative with a lot of people, but I can get really creative with them sometimes.
Yeah. I kind of like that phrase of they can go musically, they can go with you to that place.
Yeah.
That place you need to go because I know once in a while, when we've done Whipping Post before, and you'll you'll go in. I don't remember what kind of mode it is called, but you go into this like Arabian sound or something in that song
Yeah.
a couple times, and Paul knows exactly what you're doing. He's right there with you, and like and or you'll extend a jam out, and Danny's like, all right, fine. You know, I mean, you know, you
Yeah.
can see it. They're like, dude, I'm. You know, give me something harder. You know, you can look in their face like I'm right with you. What you doing? You know,
Yeah.
where are we going? You know, like that's just
Well,
so cool.
me and Danny have always had he telegraphs what he's gonna do. Danny Montero,
Mhm.
he telegraphs what he's gonna do um, ahead of time.
Mhm.
So if you're a person that listens and you're used to listening to a drummer, you know he'll tell you right what he's gonna do.
Mhm.
It's just you got to be the guy that's listening,
Mhm.
and I'd like to think that I'm kind of good at that too.
I think
and
you
Paul
are.
is also very good at that.
Mhm.
And so, you know, like I said, musically we can go a lot of different directions, and you know, and musically have that musical conversation where, hey, I'm gonna go over here, and we all go that way,
Mhm.
or we all go this way, or you know.
Yeah. What was, you know, obviously I don't need you to, you know, out anybody, but what was like kind of a thing about a previous band that didn't really work so good?
A band that I was in,
Yeah, or that you've seen, or again,
Well,
answer it kind of any way you want.
that's something that we talked about earlier, I think, which was singers that don't really. I played in a country band one time, and the singer had no clue what key he was singing in,
Yeah.
no clue, um, you know, verse, chorus, bridge. Didn't know what any of those things are,
Right,
you know.
right.
But really good singer. I
Yeah.
actually probably one of the better frontmen that I played with. He was an excellent frontman. In that he worked the crowd and he really got the crowd into what he was doing. And he was a good singer, he was a good vocalist. But after that, he didn't know a thing about music. So if we want to do two verses in a row and then shove a bridge in where it's not supposed to do, or half a verse and shove a bridge right in the middle there.
Oh wow.
You know, like, dude, that's not gonna work. We're like right in the middle of a verse. You know, we can't put a bridge here. You know.
So did you musically have to save his butt a couple times?
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
I know. What,
And then the conversation, like, okay, you sing this in A. What key do I do that in? You do this in A.
Now you're telling
Now that
him.
sounds too high. Well, no, you did it last time. You did it in A.
Are those so? So like those conversations are always really funny to me too, and I find that really. You probably haven't had to deal with that for a while now, because I know you usually play with some pretty quality players, but I know a lot of people have been in bands where they do not see eye to eye with the other person for a number of reasons, either running the band kind of things, or the idea of what songs are we gonna play, or are we gonna do them like the original? Are we gonna purposefully not do it like the, you know, when we have those moments and you're arguing? Have you had any success with that, or some things that you definitely didn't know that didn't work in those moments when you're arguing with people a little bit?
I generally try to go with the flow as far as like music wise. I mean, if a band was like doing too much stuff that I really just don't want to play, then I'm probably not gonna stay in that band.
Yeah.
But just about every band I've ever played in, I've played songs that I didn't really want to play, and I feel like that's just part of the deal. You know, part of the deal with being a musician is you lug your equipment in, no matter how heavy it is. You set up, and you know, even though it takes time and it's work, that's part of being a musician. Part of being a musician is paying for your equipment, owning the equipment, taking care of the equipment, fixing it when it breaks down, and playing music that you really don't want to play. That's just all part of the music.
Doing
know,
stuff you don't want to do.
doing stuff you don't want to do.
And suck it up.
Any job is like that. I've worked a million of them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, not really a million, but you know.
I think that is probably one of the biggest, and I'm in this generation too, of probably one of the biggest problems with our young generation is not understanding that concept. I'm part of it too. I mean, I'm not putting it off on them, but the idea of complaining about things that we don't want to do and being a little bit more bratty, I would say, is a good word for it, spoiled and bratty, than
Yeah, there's always that song. Any band, even my own band, although it's a lot less frequent, but even my own band, there's that one song, man. There's always that one song. Like, man, I hate this song. I really don't want to play this song. Okay, we're playing it. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna find a way to play it and have fun with it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's cool, man. All right, I got a couple more for you. We'll be out of here. One last thing about bands and running them, I guess, is that I think a lot of people get really they get really, what's the word, frustrated with club owners and having to deal with that. I know that was a big thing when I was running my band is that a lot of the musicianship of making my charts and coming up with my songs and all, you know, and even, you know, even trying to even look for gigs. But when I came up to the owners, I really didn't know how to handle that, really, in regards to like, do I try to come up and like be funny? Do I try to get to know them like 3 or 4 times and then drop on them I have a band? Do I come at them real strong, being like, "Hey man, we got this band. We're really good. When do you want us?" You know, not if. When, you know, there's probably a lot of different like ways. And
probably the last thing you said, you know, hey, I've got this band. We're really good. You know, when do you want us? I am like not pushy at all. You know, and I should be pushier, actually. I mean, I'm probably one of those guys that could be pushier. But I have a reputation now at this point, and so I don't have to be too pushy most of the time. Club owners are the ones that have decided to have live music, man. I mean, if you have a club owner and he wants to have live music, I mean, he's my freaking hero. You know what I mean?
We think of him as the enemy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of musicians look at it as against, and it's this battle, and like, you know, it's
if
tough
you
attitude.
can find one that sticks at it and wants to do it, and he sticks at it, he loves music. You know, a club owner can kill his own club, or he can, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the way he treats people and the way he, you know, I've played places where they were glad to have me, and I played one time and they got to know me, and they next time I played, they knew everybody that was out in the crowd. You know, they were friendly enough that they knew everybody, and they loved the music anyway, and they were just happy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the kind of place you want to have, because it's like, you know, because you got such and such, and they're following you around, and they come to your gigs, and you know, and they treat them with respect. They already know their name when they get there. That's great. That's like fantastic. So I've seen club owners like that made their own club, and they also helped me make my, you know. And then I've been with club owners that, well, you know, I've been sitting here 20 minutes, I can't get a beer, you know.
Phil talked about that too. Phil Shirelli is talking about the idea that he thinks this against mentality, and I think kids and adults kind of, the kids always feel like we're against the adult, like when you're like 5, you know, it's like we're against the adults or something. And I think a lot of musicians think that we're like against the owners, like it's a freaking game or something, you know, it's a football game or something.
There's
and
musicians that there are musicians that are very entitled, They have a sense of entitlement. They walk into a club and they have a sense of entitlement. Like, I have to have, I get free food and I get free drink, and you know what? That's okay if the club owner agrees to that and he's willing to treat you that well, but at the same time, you're hired to do a job. It's just like any frickin' other job. You go in there, you do what you're paid to do, and you get out. And you try to do it the best you can.
Do they think they deserve the
I've
gig?
played clubs where the band ahead of me, the weekend ahead of me, come in and they want their free food. Not only do they want their free food, but they gripe about it the whole time, and then they want more, and then they send it back, and then they, you know what I mean? Like, okay, they were supposed to have 2 free drinks, and they took 4, and then they complained about it the whole time,
Right.
and then they think they're like musical gods that people just fall down and worship them, because they're musicians, and I got to follow those guys into the same clubs that they play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times I'll walk into that place, and that bar owner will already be like, "Man, I've had it with musicians up to here." The last guy that was I've dealt with him. I know exactly what you're gonna do to me. And like you can't be that way. You gotta treat people with respect. You gotta treat people with respect.
I like you talking about, and this is again what Phil was talking about, is that this is like a partnership with you and the owner. It's not against. It's like the union, just like you said, you treat him with respect, and I like you're basically talking about you need to make sure you negotiate all that stuff with him. What drinks you get, what food you get, if it's all negotiated.
Paid, and then if you want to agree to that, then agree to it. If somebody, if a club owner, messes you up, doesn't treat you right, then don't play there.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice, man. I think
Don't get mad, just don't play there.
Yeah.
If somebody does you wrong in business, you just don't do business with them.
Right. Does that do any good to go cuss them out?
Why would it?
I know.
There's another thing, that always amazed me, is this whole double booking thing, because I've been double booked. You know what? I've never come out ahead by getting mad about being double booked. I've never come out ahead. You know what? I've been extremely understanding about getting double booked. You know what? I come out ahead every freaking time, because if I get double booked, I'm like, okay, all right, well, just book me again. I'll book you twice again, because I'm sorry I double booked you.
That's great. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've had that happen to me I don't know how many times. And then I watch some of these other band leaders go in, like, you double booked me, I can't believe you guys just can't do anything right.
Yeah.
Well, how about a gig? Well, what are you going to do to that? What are you going to say? You think you're going to get another gig after that?
Right.
Yeah,
that's a great point, man. Because again, I really am interested in psychology stuff. Like, what's the purpose of that? That's just a vent. When he's bitching, that's all he's doing. And
I mean, if I go in there with the attitude that you owe me, like, what good is that going to do me? But if I go in there with the attitude, well, I'm here to work with you. You're the boss. I'm the employee. I want to keep working for you. So, give me another gig or whatever. You know what? I mean, that works really well for me.
Yeah. I know you talked a minute ago about something that I talk to I think about my students about what kind of expectations can I set on them. And I was thinking about this, I call it the muscle, and what I'm meaning by that is, like, you think of like the gangsters or whatever, where they have like the muscle to just come in here and just make everybody do whatever they want, and so I think about that in regards to my students, where if I have a crap load of students, then I now have a little bit more muscle with these 2 turds over here, that aren't doing what they're supposed to. you know, then I've got 48 more students that these two aren't so important anymore in the grand scheme of my life. If they drop, it's not not that big deal. So with you, what you were talking about of you're kind of up to this situation now where when you book a show, you're not gonna you don't have to go in there and guarantee them 0 people. You know, you can guarantee them more people. You obviously already have many gigs on the books. I mean, you know, just jams, you've got 200 this year or 100, right? 50 and 50. You know, I mean, you have plenty of gigs that a club owner could come out and watch your show to see what name you have. They can talk to everybody in town and they can give you reference. So like, you have this muscle, you know, to be like you were talking about. Maybe some people do Samantha might be up to that level where she can kind of guarantee some people. If she's a good act, she can, you know, or another example, or Trample Underfoot, it was another example in town.
Club owners, they talk to each other a lot more than musicians realize. And also, you know, you just got your good diehard fan that loves live music, and they'll give you a call. Hey, you know, they're having music here. You need to go hit this place up for a gig or whatever. You know, so the reputation kind of works. You know, it snowballs.
Sure.
It accumulates.
Yeah.
You know.
That's obviously where everybody's trying to get to. You know, we're all trying to get that
well,
spot
you
where
got
we
these
can.
bands that they throw together this band, and maybe like the best band in the world, but they're only together a year, and they can't get gigs, so they quit, and they form other bands, or they just quit, you know.
And then they start it over again.
But then you got these bands that have been around forever, and they've just been around forever, and they have a reputation. You're building a reputation for good music is what you're doing. You know, if you build that reputation and you have the longevity, then it's gonna snowball. You know.
Yeah. It's about the patience then, I guess, right? I mean, you have a little bit of patience to get the people together, and you're dealing with 50-year-old children too. All of us. All of us knuckleheads, but yeah, man. Well, cool. Well, I got one more for you here. You were talking to me about a Ozarks story, right?
Yeah, I did a gig in the Lake of the Ozarks, and this was with not my band. This is a band that I was playing with, and it was late fall. It was cold weather. You know, they normally have a good crowd, and this night they didn't have a good crowd, and it was all the band's fault. Well, of course, it wasn't our fault, you know, but it was all the band's fault. Club owner goes home early, leaves the bar, his general manager or whatever it is, you know, to take care of the bar, and so we get to the end of the night. We'll take out all our stuff, and we load it in the vehicle, in the trailer we had in this van, and you know, they're griping about, you know, there's nobody here, so they called the gig early. You know, we're all good with that. You know, no cut and pay was discussed, but you know, we pretty much plan on getting paid. Nobody said we're not getting paid, or we would have just packed it up and went home before we started the gig. I'm sure somebody would have complained about that too. Sure. But so we're packing up. As soon as the last piece came out the door and sat down on the trailer, you heard a click, and you turn around, and every single light in the place was out, and it was dark inside.
No habla inglés. We're not home anymore.
Have we got paid yet? No, we haven't. Okay, well, so we go back up to the door, knock on the door. Nobody's home. I don't think there's anybody in there. I think they left. And I mean, they were just in there. I mean, the whole place was like 5 or 6 employees there.
Sure.
And it's just as soon as we walk out the door, it's like click, no lights, nothing.
Wow.
Everything.
Wow.
So it was like a comedy moment.
Oh, that's funny, man.
Fortunately, the band leader had the club owner's home phone number
Sure.
and called him, and the club owner came out and paid us for that gig.
Oh, wow.
But we waited for an extra hour
Yeah, sure.
after we were had been done and
Oh,
stuff,
wow.
and nobody was happy, you know.
So did you get
But-
did you get the impression that the club owner told them to do that, or were you not quite sure, or did it
I
look like
think-
that was a manager?
Well, I think they just didn't like they didn't have a crowd, they didn't make any money
Yeah.
that night, and they didn't want to
They're-
pay the band. That's
Or
what I
pissy?
think.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I mean that's a
And-
tough night. That's just a tough night.
it's
The
just a rough night, yeah.
waitresses
but at
don't
the
make
same
any
time,
money.
man, we're doing what we're doing, and we expect to get paid,
Yeah.
and we depend on that money. So
So did they expect you to bring people like down
well,
to
it's
the
like
Ozarks?
the Ozarks. I mean, there's gonna be like people. I mean, the place where we played usually has an enormous crowd anyway. It was just bad weather, whatever, you know.
Yeah, those are the moments where you kind of do the sigh, and you're just like, okay, so what's really going on here? And that's the tough thing where where the band, the guys start getting really skeptical of club owners.
Yeah.
Those kind of moments of accidentally 30 years of playing, and then you've had
Well, I've
400
had,
of those gigs like that.
I've played places where the not the manager and not the owner, but the employees run you off just because they run people out of the place, which I'm sure their boss wouldn't like because they're in business to make money, But I've played places where the employees run people out of there, and
So they
just
can
because
go
they don't
home?
want to work anymore, they just want to go home early.
Sure.
They did their 2 or 3 hours, and they're ready to go home.
Well, I mean, on their, so what? Are they making $7 more of tips tonight in the next 2 hours? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's probably their logic, right? I'm
Yeah.
gonna stay 3 more hours. I'm gonna get $7 more, and yeah, that's funny, man. And then last one is you were talking about the guy.
It was comical. I mean, it
Oh
was,
yeah.
I mean, just as soon as the last piece was set in the trailer, like you turn around, the whole place was lit up before, and you have your back to the place, put the thing in, and you turn around, click, all the lights, every single light in the place is off. It's just hilarious.
That's funny, man. Did you? You said you had another one that you were talking about, another story that. What were you saying? Oh yeah, the guy at the jam.
Oh yeah, I had
Yeah.
a drummer one time that was, he was so drunk, and his friend, he had a girlfriend and a couple other friends with him. Oh, he's a great drummer. You got to get him up, But he was so drunk, he got up to talk to me, and he like fell into me. And so I backed off, and then he fell into me again. It's like, gotta get me up. Boom, boom. It's like slam dancing with me while he's trying to talk to me. And he was so drunk, he didn't even realize he ran into me.
Oh God.
And he was like 6'2", and
man.
like maybe 200 pounds or so. I mean, he was just like boom, boom. I'm like, dude, I'm saving you from embarrassing yourself. You better just sit back down.
Mm-hmm. So what'd you do? Did he take your advice and not get up
He
there?
did
or
actually,
you,
yeah. I had to really insist.
Yeah.
But,
So-
and which was not something I really wanted to do because he's a big guy.
Oh
but,
sure. And
but,
drunk.
but he was too drunk. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just dude, you're gonna embarrass yourself.
Oh yeah. Have you
You know.
ever gotten in a not a fist fight, but a very very heated, like a heated altercation at a jam or a gig?
I'm pretty good about negotiating myself out of those,
Yeah.
but I have.
Yeah, sure. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that I've never had to deal with that before, because I know you hear guys talk about that, and we had a jammer at the little jam that we ran, and this guy he got 2 songs and he was pretty pissed about it, you know.
Yeah.
You need to give me 3 songs, and he went on and on and on. And I mean, he wasn't a big guy, but he was like a military-looking guy, and it was not gonna. It could have been. It ended pretty bad, and it could have ended much worse, you know. But it was just a really horrible moment. It was no fun whatsoever. But yeah, cool, man. What else you got, Dave? Anything else you want to talk about, or how you feeling?
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm all out now.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Well, thanks for coming over and talking a little bit about the open jams and running bands and stuff, because I know that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the show, is for mainly those 2 topics and then teaching stuff. But those 2 topics, I think a lot of guys, like you were saying, maybe don't have quite the most amazing attitude towards the owners. And I think a lot of times, maybe even myself included in this, where we kind of go to the jams and then we don't say anything to the guy, and then we go to the back of the bar and just, man, I hate that guy, you know, and then we don't say anything to the dude, but then, you know, then we're all bitching in the back, and so a lot of that stuff I wanted to bring out as much as I can, and that's why I wanted to do the show, is to get more advice for people like that. And maybe if, you know, somebody sees this, and maybe they can, you know, hopefully maybe they can think twice before they just rip roar into a club owner, and maybe that's not in their best interest, even though they want to really badly.
Well, you never know. Like, it's just like, you know, anybody else, you don't know what they did with the rest of their day. You don't know what they did the week before. You know, like I said, you know, maybe he was fighting with his supplier, you know, 2 hours before, you know. You never know. You just never know what people are going through. Maybe his dog died, you know.
And this guy's been great 5 times before this, and today he was just a complete asshole, you know. And then you're like, I don't get it. Well, it's not you, you know. It's something else.
Well, yeah.
Or it may not be you. Yeah, cool, man. All right, everybody. That's the show. This is Dave Hayes. Tuesday at Llewellyn's, and Sunday at Christine's Firehouse, open jams. Come to them. They're absolutely buckets of fun. Lots of good players usually, and very, very, very quality house band. And so I don't know who the heck's coming on the show next, but we'll have some more of these for you. So, Casey Music Talk, there you go. Take it easy.